Hello and welcome to the program, The Big Talk on Global Television. My name is Anthony Momodi. Welcome to today's episode that promises to be exciting as we cast our searchlight on the Niger Delta development is what we'll be looking at on today's edition. And we'll be looking at very interesting issues. We know that from environmental degradation caused by oil exploration to infrastructure deficit, and also looking at the health sector, also lack of health facilities in the Niger Delta, and also the illegal and very costly exploration by international oil companies, which has cost lives and contamination of farmlands and also lands of agricultural produce of the Niger Delta people, which has led to different kinds of adversity for the Niger Delta people is what we'll be focusing on. Also, not forgetting the NDDC, a commission that was created to bring succor to the people of the Niger Delta. How well have they done in the past couple of decades? And what is being expected of the new board is also something that we'll be looking at, and also illegal refineries in the Niger Delta region and the cost implication of those illegal refineries, and not forgetting the Tantita security outfits who have been given the contract to protect the pipelines across the Niger Delta area, where it's been said as much as 17,000 youths have been employed to ensure that pipelines are no longer vandalized. These and other big issues is what we'll be looking at on today's edition of the program, The Big Talk. And definitely we've got a big person in the studio who's going to help us look at this interesting talking point as regards the Niger Delta. We have no other person but Comrade Success Jack, who is the president of the Niger Delta Activist Forum, and he is also the ex-chairman of the Ijaw community in Abuja and northern Nigeria. He's a very well experienced and vast person when it comes to issues of the Niger Delta, and that's why we've brought him here. Jack, Success Jack, nice to have you in the studios.
Thank you very much, Dan.
All right, let's look at the Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Commission said that from January 2021 to February 2022, Nigeria lost as much as $3 billion worth of crude oil. For you, how sad is that, knowing fully well that how strategic the Niger Delta is to Nigeria's economy?
Well, it's a sad thing when it comes to nation building, because, you know, government has to up their production so that they can also fund their annual fiscal budgets. So it's a sad one, but again, what brings us to that point? What brings us to that point is the issue of insecurity. What are the factors underpinning insecurity in the Niger Delta region? It goes back to the fundamental questions of inclusion of the people. People want to be involved in whatever the riches and the resources within their immediate environment is. And, you know, that's basically what it is. So government has to do a lot in looking into the remote and immediate causes of what is fueling insecurity that goes to, you know, affect oil production.
Talking about the inclusion of the Niger Delta people, we know about the NDDC, which was created to help have direct impact on the Niger Delta people. How well will you say the NDDC board has done? Can we blame the federal government, or we should look at the NDDC and also look at the state government of each of the Niger Delta states, and also the issue of the 13% derivation formula, which gets direct funds for the Niger Delta people? Would you say this, you know, policies were supposed to help the Niger Delta people, but apparently the government and the people have did themselves in?
Okay, Tony, I think at this point we're lumping quite a lot of things together. Maybe I pick them one.
Pick them one after the other.
If we want to assess how well the NDDC has done in these, you know, since it was brought on board, I would say that from the beginning, NDDC experienced some sort of focus and experienced some sort of focused leadership during the time of Timi Alaibe. That was at the onset. You know, they worked very hard to develop the region because the Niger Delta was really, really backward in terms of development. There were no good roads, no social amenities, nothing was, you know, literally functioning. But, Timi Alaibe is one man that has, not received the appropriate credit for his leadership, mien and acumen. That man did a lot. He was the one in charge of the NDDC when they came up with the NDDC master plan. It was a master plan concocted by the best intellectual cream we have in and outside the Niger Delta region to actually give us a roadmap of development over a long period of time, so that all the yearly allocations, budgetary allocations given to the commission will actually have a framework within which to fall and guarantee massive development or the desired development of the region. Timi Alaibe made sure of that, developmental framework, which was literally abandoned because of political interest. So, but after the Timi Alaibe era, I will say others that came, you had different people that came, different leaderships. Most of these leaderships were being remote controlled, so to speak, from Abuja. So now you have a commission, tasked with the development of the region. But one politician who is not from the Niger Delta stays in Abuja and begins to remote control.
Wouldn't you blame the Niger Delta people who would allow someone who is not an indigene to remote control them concerning their environment, knowing fully what they've gone through? Because I served in Bayelsa. I saw it was one route into Bayelsa, one route out of Bayelsa. And like you rightly pointed, there were no good roads, there were no hospitals. And so if I had that first-hand knowledge, why would I allow someone else to dictate to me?
You see, the divide and rule system is as old as man. It's back, in time. And you see, they say, he that pays the piper dictates the tune.
True.
So if you are not dancing to the tune of your paymaster or your political godfather or your political source, then you begin to see threat. If you don't do this, you will not be on seat to receive the next budgetary allocation. And then you see the man begin to fret, what do you want me to do? And then they begin to sign all kinds and sorts of flimsy and irrelevant and, sleazy contracts, only to defraud the region and the people. But then the politicians will tell you, we gave this money to the region. But those are things that are neither here nor there, because, you can make the argument that it's still manned by our fellow Niger Deltans. And, the money is being frittered away to other sources. But then there is also the big question of corruption and proper accountability of resources. Again, you would agree with me that recently there was a board that was in charge of the NDDC.
Was it the Godswill Akpabio's era?
I do not want to bring Godswill Akpabio into this.
Why? Because there were a lot of controversies about Godswill Akpabio and how he
was the minister at the time in charge of Niger Delta. But there was a managing director in the person of Professor Brambaifa. Brambaifa era is perhaps one of the darkest era in the management of our resources through the agency of the NDDC. During that era, we had where they brought up this thing they call desilting jobs. The Niger Delta is, you will agree with me, is a coastal area and is a swamp land.
Yes, true.
Massively
swampy.
And so there's the need for occasional desilting, occasional
filling of those
water hyacinth clearing and all of those ones, to actually enable proper subsistence activities, especially when it comes to aquaculture and related activities. But having said that, the Professor Brambaifa administration took it, to a whole new level, where they were issuing contracts of 500 million, 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion for desilting, non-existing contracts, and they sign legal contracts up front.
But you being the president of activists in the Niger Delta, we know that you massively have the support of the Niger Delta youth, the Ijo Youth Council and other groups. What stopped you people from crying out when it was obvious that that certain board was playing to the gallery?
Okay, let me, the Niger Delta Activist Forum is perhaps the most grounded group within the Niger Delta, because a conglomeration of everybody that wants to speak out. It's a platform that convokes every other vocal, interested party within the Niger Delta. When that happened, if you ask our input or our contribution, we cried out. We cried out massively, and the man felt the Niger Delta under my leadership could not do anything. We took the matter to very high extents. We met with the then sitting president. I met with President Muhammadu Buhari, and he assured me, you would remember that it was, if you go to our Facebook page, you will see that we were the first to begin to cry out for forensic audit. We addressed a press conference asking the federal government to actually institute a forensic audit on how the resources of the Niger Delta people through the agency of the NDDC has been administered over the years. We asked for 3 things under that struggle: the immediate sack of Professor Brambaifa, we asked for the forensic auditing of the NDDC, and we asked for for plugging of certain laws, legislative lacuna, which the president told me that was not within his purview, but the 2 that were within his purview will be addressed. Were they addressed? Yes, we gave an ultimatum of, I think, 7 days or 14 days, and by the 16th, 17th day, the man was sacked from office. And then you now saw the president come on TV, address the nation, commissioning a forensic audit of the NDDC. That was never made really public. Was it made public? It was made public. The president came on TV. No, sorry, the results. No, yes, the results we are talking about now, because... Yes, I'll get to that. Yeah. And then, not long after then, Akpabio, also was appointed as Minister of the Niger Delta Ministry. And then you saw Akpabio singing the song of forensic audit, forensic audit. A forensic audit firm was actually employed, contracted, and they started the process and all of that. And they finished. At least that kept some persons in check. But then, up till today, we had advocated for the government to have made the results public. It was within, the premise, the official powers of Mr. President then to have done that, but that was not done. And we continue to shout and shout and shout, but there's a limit to which you can take your agitation. Okay, let's look at the Niger Delta, the lands now that were polluted. At a point, we had the Nigerian government come out, in the Buhari's regime, come out to say, okay, the cleanup of Ogoni land and all the polluted areas were going to be kick-started. We saw like it began, but would you say that process went the whole hog? And what do you think went amiss? Why did they seem to have stopped halfway? Okay, as a leader of the Niger Delta Activist Forum, I rallied some leaders across the Niger Delta to intervene when issues were being raised concerning the Ogoni Cleanup. Yes. Ogoni Cleanup is a metaphor for what is possible within the Niger Delta and what the general concerns of our people are, especially when it comes to the degradation and the pollution of our immediate environment. The people are dying. The place is chemicalized. Our lands, our waters are being chemicalized. They couldn't fish anymore. Yes, and then it is exterminating certain species of flora and fauna, and that's not good for our people. Even the foods we grow and you eat, when you eat them, you are ingesting a certain level of cyclic hydrocarbons, which are chemicals that has a very long half-life and takes hundreds of years. So it's a death sentence on every Niger Delta man. Now, coming to the Ogoni Cleanup, you are talking about HYPREP, the hydrocarbon pollution agency that was in charge. Now, I want to say a big thank you to UNEP, the United Nations Environmental Program, that also facilitated and waded in conjunction with the federal government of, Nigeria to make that possible. But unfortunately, like you would also want to add, the agency was headed by a Niger Delta, and in fact, at a point it was headed by an Ogoni man, an Ogoni son. But if I tell you the things that happened, they are very, very funny. Yeah, we like to hear the things that happen, because as a matter of fact, the big talk. As a matter of fact, I was approached by some Ogoni elders and leaders to wade into the matter. We held a few meetings and we were supposed to take certain What were the issues? I'm coming to it. Yeah. And then I met with the leadership of MOSOP, that's the Movement of Survival of Ogoni people. I met with some stakeholders, elders. Now, the issues were simple. See, there were some fundamental issues. When they did, during their report, report. The UNEP report had it that water, underground water that you are supposed to drill and then get water for domestic use and whatever use within was not good for usage. The level of hydrocarbon content within that, cyclic hydrocarbon, benzene content in the water content underground was about 100 and something, about 1,000 times more than
higher than
levels. That is death sentence on our people. Now, so they also recommended that the only way out to address this issue was to, set up certain water projects. Monies were allocated for those projects. Till today, you go to Eleme, you go to most of those communities, those monies have been appropriated, eaten, and made use of, and there is no such project on ground.
Who do we hold responsible?
Corruption. Number one, like I said, even though it is our son or our sons that have been in charge of that agency, now, why have they not been held to account by the government or by the systems in the government? It's because they are being backed by the political powers to eat that money, giving them courage that if you eat that money, nothing will happen. That's what I was trying to explain, just a few moments ago. It's a political thing, so the matter is neither here nor there. But again, people needs to be brought to book. People needs to be taken into account. Now, there was another very critical issue that, was not addressed.
Okay.
There was the issue of about $10 million being set aside for artisanal refining. All those boys that were into artisanal refining, doing this illegal concrete and all of that. The report actually suggested that, to avoid these people from resorting to criminality and all sorts of social vices in society, there should be a fund set aside, which was about $10 million, if I remember correctly. That fund was allocated to give them an alternative means of living. The young men were so comported, they comported themselves, so organized, they formed themselves into a union and continued to bang on the doors of High Prep. High Prep appropriated that money, ate the money, until today, nothing happened. So it's more of a Nigerian problem. It's not, because a Niger Delta man being at the helm of affairs there cannot just appropriate those monies, eat it, and nothing will happen if the systems are not behind it. And they are going scot-free. Nobody is talking upon all the voicings and shoutings. As I'm here, I'm also, still shouting on the same matter. So if the systems are not behind him, why is he not being? Why are those people not held to account?
Okay, let's look at the issue of our pipelines in Nigeria being vandalized. And recently, we know that Tompolo is the figurehead of the group that has been given the Tantita Security Services, given the first phase of contract to secure pipelines. Would you say they were truly successful? Because the contract was renewed against many oppositions by other groups that felt Tantita didn't get the job done, even though Tantita claims they employed 17,500 Niger Delta youths, and that's a large scale. What did we kept seeing, pipelines being vandalized despite this huge number of youths being employed in the Niger Delta, because as recent as October 3rd, 2023, the 15 lives were lost in Rivers State when a pipeline was vandalized, and we had residents from that community going to scoop it. That's a Rumu Choli village.
Let me state something. Maybe we need to clear certain issues.
Okay.
You see, when Tompolo was given this pipeline surveillance, it takes a little fraction out of a big volume. Before Tompolo was given this pipeline, there was an existing pipeline contract.
Okay.
Yes. As a matter of fact, to Ocean Marine, go and verify.
Okay.
Now, Ocean Marine, in fact, the total contract sum is somewhere in the region of 1.something trillion, about 1.3, 1.4 trillion per annum. And the pipeline vandalism was still ongoing. So I do not think that Tompolo is a magician, or Alaja Sare Dokubo Kinga Teketom is a magician, because when you hear Tantita is a conglomeration of efforts, recognition of the leaders, but one corporate body just needed to be awarded the job, even though there are arguments against that. If you want to award this job, give Tompolo for his domain and territory.
Okay.
Yeah, the argument is that when we did the militancy business that gave me the kind of control I have within my region, Tompolo did not buy the guns for me.
Okay.
He did not teach me how to shoot. I did my thing, Tompolo did his thing. It's just that for democratic purposes or for coordination purposes, there needs to be some form of hegemony and leadership elected. But, sorry sir,
okay.
I need to make it very clear. In the last 1 year, go and check what was the oil production statistics. It was vacillating somewhere between 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 as it is today. At some point
1.9 was, I think,
yes,
the highest. Nigeria's aiming to get to 1.9.
Yes. So Tompolo's actions have been able to create a lot of jobs which were not existing when even that contract was existing. One. Number two, Tompolo's involvement, and when I say Tompolo is a generic reference to all the ex-militant leaders, because King Ateketom is there, the likes of Boylof is there, Gberi Papa is there, and all of them, Shooter Side is there. They are all there. Now, when these our ex-militant leaders got involved, jobs were created, and there was no drop in oil production, as it used to be prior to that time.
So you think giving Tantita only the job has not done us any good?
No, Tantita, they have done excellently well.
Okay.
They have done excellently well. And let me also make this very clear.
Let's wrap it up now, okay?
Yes, I do not know. I am not sure that Tantita's contract has been renewed, because there are agitations for some other leaders to also control their domain. Don't give to Tompolo, I have my own company, and but all of that.
Wouldn't this create more division?
No, it will create specificity.
Okay, that's it's so sad that that's how much time we allow us to take on today's edition of the program Big Talk. Hopefully, probably we're going to have a part 2 of this Success Jack. I hope you oblige us if we want you to come finish the second part of our discourse. All right, so that's how we call it a wrap on today's edition of the program, Big Talk on Global Television. My name is Anthony Momodu, and we've got the honor of having Comrade Success Jack, who is the president of the Niger Delta Activists Forum, and also the ex-chairman of the Ijaw community in Abuja and northern Nigeria. It was a pleasure having him come educate us more about issues of Niger Delta development. Let's do this again next episode.